It's Monday, the 7th of June 2021. Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business Headlines, the business news you need in just 5 minutes. I'm Sean Aylmer. In today's headlines, the local share market hits a record high, but how high can it go? Plus, the world's leading economies clamp down on tax minimisation by big multinationals, Victoria to receive 100,000 new COVID jabs as authorities try and gain control of the latest outbreak, and a big miner finally puts an Indigenous Australian on its board. Our lead story today, the S&P ASX 200 hit a new record on Friday, up 0.5% to close at 7,295 points. It was the second successive closing high and reflected the confidence investors have in the economic pickup. Last week's March quarter economic growth figures of 1.8% was the trigger for the rise. The big movers over the past sessions have been the energy companies, benefiting from rising oil prices. Also, it's hard to hit records on the ASX unless the big banks and the big miners are doing well. They represent 8 of the top 11 stocks. BHP, Rio Tinto and Fortescue Metals all jumped sharply last week, notwithstanding gains were pared back on Friday, as the price of iron ore recovered to be back above $200 a tonne. Commonwealth Bank is trading firmly above $100 a share, and along with Westpac, National Australia Bank and ANZ, is up around 50% over the past year. Macquarie Group, which is the 9th largest company on the bourse, is up 30% over the past year. The biggest losers over the past 6 weeks undoubtedly have been the tech stocks. So where to now? A run of forecasters, including AMP Capital, Commonwealth Bank, JP Morgan and Van Eck, now think the index will end the year between 7,300 points and 8,000 points. That would be an annual rise of between 11 and 21%. At the midpoint, 16%, 2021 would be the second best year in the last decade. It all sounds pretty good, but buyers beware. The share market is a fickle beast. In overseas news, the 7 most advanced Western economies have agreed to a new tax regime for multinational companies, including Amazon, Facebook and Google, which will force them to pay more tax. The G7 finance ministers agreed on a minimum global corporate tax rate of at least 15%, undermining low taxing jurisdictions to which big multinationals currently shift profits. The tax deal will put pressure on governments to reduce their corporate tax rate if they're high. Australia, for example, has a corporate tax rate of 30%, well above the average. Former President Donald Trump has been banned from Facebook for 2 years for his part in the riots on Capitol Hill in January this year, and will only be reinstated if the risk to public safety has subsided. Facebook said Mr. Trump's actions were a severe violation of its rules. Twitter has already permanently banned Mr. Trump. And it was a bad weekend for Bitcoin, with the cryptocurrency falling more than 5% to be trading around $35,000 a unit. Over the past couple of days, concerns about China's crackdown on digital currencies and a tweet from Tesla boss Elon Musk emphasising that goods and services made up the real economy have weighed on the currency. Locally, the federal government will send another 100,000 Pfizer vaccines to Victoria from next week and will double the number of doses of AstraZeneca sent to GPs in an effort to accelerate the rollout of inoculations. Federal Health Minister Greg Hunt expects 600,000 doses a week will be administered from July, up from the current pace of 300,000. Meanwhile, the National Cabinet met on Friday. After it, the PM said all Australians over the age of 40 will get access to a vaccine from tomorrow. Mr Morrison also said it was time to get back to the office. With an election less than 12 months away, the Federal Coalition and Labor parties are level on a two-party preferred basis, according to the latest news poll. The Coalition's primary vote is at 41% and Labor is at 36%. Popular support for Prime Minister Scott Morrison has fallen sharply, though he still remains well ahead of Labor leader Anthony Albanese. The federal government on Friday released the Foster Report, which investigated misconduct inside Parliament House. It found 76 complaints were made since 2017, of which 5 involved sexual harassment. Half of all complaints related to the conduct of politicians, and 7 were referred for outside investigations. The report found that current procedures and processes were not designed or able to respond appropriately to serious incidents in the parliamentary workplace, particularly to sexual assault. The report came after government staffer Brittany Higgins alleged she was raped in an MP's office. Former Western Australian Treasurer Ben Wyatt will become Rio Tinto's first Indigenous board member. Mr Wyatt quit politics in March, and his appointment should mend relations between Rio and First Australians, following the explosion of Yukon Gorge that destroyed ancient rock caves more than a year ago. Now that Mr Wyatt has been appointed, it does seem quite amazing that the big miners haven't had Indigenous representatives on their boards until now. That's the Fear and Greed business headlines for today. Make sure you hit follow so you get it every morning. And if you'd like more detail and more stories, search for our longer daily podcast called Fear and Greed. We also release a daily interview. Today, we're profiling some of the biggest international stocks, including Costco, Nike and LVMH. I'll be back later with the afternoon market report. I'm Sean Aylmer. Have a great day.